And tell me if this rings true, or maybe Alison and Bryan, you're a little too young to experience this, but it's coming. Oh, boy, is it coming. And you tell me if this rings true to you, Larry Miller. Went out on Sunday night to celebrate Drew's birthday party. It was a nice restaurant. It was Drew. It was me. It was my wife. It was his wife. It was Colleen Williams, who's a local news anchor out here for 25 years or so, and was her husband. We then proceeded to talk about their kids for an hour and 45 minutes. Everyone had just gone off to college. Everyone was the same age. Oh, Sean is going to study in this, and he's off at that, and he's already captain of the speech and debate team. And I didn't really mind it, and it was one of those things that I didn't know was happening while it was happening. And then there was a lot of Drew's got triplets, so one is off to Amherst, and the other's off to, Dartmouth and wherever.
They're college days already?
They're all off at college, and one of them's made the a cappella boys choir, and blah, blah, blah. But he was always the one who focused a little harder, but Douglas was better at sports, but he's getting his ass kicked right now because academically. And at some point, my wife and I climbed in our car and started driving home 3 hours later. We drank some wine, we had some cocktails, we ate, we relaxed. I thought it was a lovely evening. But we realized there was at least 65 to 80% of the conversation was spent on their 17-and-a-half-year-old kids and what they're up to. And I thought, do you think our parents would have given two shits or spent half a millisecond talking about what a 17-and-a-half-year-old Larry Miller was up to? Turns out Larry had a solid BM last week and discovered masturbation.
Oh, great.
I mean, he's going to community college. He wants to try something called stand-up comedy.
And by the way, that was quite a week.
Yes, there's just no possible way my dad and mom would ever sit down at dinner, especially drinking, and there's plenty to discuss, and everyone's in show business, too. It's not like, well, we all worked at the same place shucking clams all day and didn't want anything to do with that. Colleen Williams has a great gig. Drew's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing. There could have been much discussion about what the grown-ups were doing and what the next move was and how you cover a news story, and Drew adding a ninth show to his arsenal. But no, it was all about the kids. And by the way, who I don't really know. I mean, I don't know Colleen's kid, and Drew's kids I do know, and I'm glad to see that they're safe and off to college. But after that, I don't give a fuck of if they broke their mechanical pencil taking a history final last week. And it was just nonstop.
Now, do people actually listen to what other people's kids are doing, or do they just listen to themselves talk about what their own kids are doing and then sort of tune out?
There's sort of a one-upsmanship that goes on. There's a little bit of a basking in the collective glory or the reflective glory, and there's a little bit of, well, obviously I did a good job as a parent because my kid is off at a very good school right now and doing well, so there's that sort of association. I mean, the negative version of that would be the kids in rehab. But by the way, my new policy, only going out with parents whose kids are either in jail or rehab, because then when you go, hey, Colleen, how's Sean doing? It's fine. Moving on. Next topic. Let's talk about your podcast. Tell me about that. It's fascinating. You know what I mean? Because once the kid is, once you shame the parent.
You need to do a pre-interview.
Yeah, that's right. I want to know that the kid is undergoing surgery, a pre-op transgender, or going into rehab, or going into prison. I just want something where the parent's going to try to sweep it under the rug and move on to the next topic. That's all I'm looking for.
I was traumatized by a dinner before the kids get old enough to do this. My wife insisted that we go out. There was another couple at school, and I didn't want to go out anyway. It's the classic male thing. I have a chair at home. I like to drink at home.
Sure.
Where am I going? I'm in for the winter. I'm very happy.
Sure.
But no, we went out, and because she liked the one, that's fine. So I'm sitting next to this guy, and at one point, and I wrote this in a scene for a show that didn't get made because it was so perfect. At one point, the guy says to me, a lot of people think insurance and reinsurance are the same thing, but they're not. You know why? And I said, 1 second, please. And I just held my finger up and turned to my wife, who was talking to his wife, and she felt me turn and actually turned more away from me as she kept listening to the wife. Sure. And I just looked at the back of her head, and I just said, I just want you to know, and I know you do know, what's happening here, and that's fine. And then I said, 1 second, pal. And I held my hand up, and the waitress came back, and I said, I'd like another one of these, please.
Right.
And it was a martini, and she said, yes, fine. And I said, now, go ahead. Let's hear about reinsurance.
I know. And I was
That's important to me.
Sort of. It wasn't that I was bored by the conversation. It was one of those things that didn't dawn on me until we'd picked the car up from the valet that a couple, 6 adults, educated, interesting, semi-rich, affluent adults all sat around at a 5-star restaurant and talked about 17-and-a-half-year-olds for an hour and a half, which is something that wouldn't have happened in the Mad Men days.
That's right.
Or Mad Men days.
Or before that. I mean, seriously, 200, 500, 700 years ago, people actually never talked about kids. This is why they had 14 of them, by the way,
right.
because 8 would die,
right.
and they never got that into what the kids were doing.
Right.